Okay, so this is the 12 by 14 Yardistry Gazebo from Costco. As you can see, we laid out everything on the ground. Luckily, we had enough space to be able to do that. Just me and my husband put this together, just the two of us. I highly recommend doing it with 4 people. But we laid out all the hardware as well. I recommend putting those in numerical order so that you can just find things easily. And then we just followed the instructions in the book, and we followed them to a T. So the first day, we were only able to get that where everything's, I guess the base is put up, and then the following day we started on the rest of it. So again, we just followed the instructions and put everything together how it said, making sure to pay really close attention to the pictures and which way each piece of wood faces, because that does matter, and it really matters how you put the hardware in. So pay really close attention to that. When we were putting on the panels here on the roof, we paid more attention to lining it up so that it was flush with the wood versus making the panels line up with each other how they're supposed to, because as you can see, our holes didn't line up. So we actually had to take the panels off, not take the panels off, but unscrew what we did and then redo it and line the panels up with each other. Don't focus on lining the panels up to be flush with the wood. That was a pain. And then you can see we kind of makeshifted putting the roof on. So we used a tractor, and then we just used that stick there in the middle that gave me a lot of anxiety to hold the roof up. It ended up working out really well that we had the tractor, and we were able to use it even though I almost cried from being so scared. Definitely not OSHA approved, if you get what I mean. But if we were able to go back and fix anything, I would want to have at least 2 more people with us, because the pitch of our roof was off slightly. The last panel that we put on wasn't where it was supposed to be. It still looks really good, and I don't think anyone would notice if you looked at it, but I know because I'm the one that put it together. So this last panel, another bit of advice, the instructions have you put the hardware in on the ceiling. You can see there's 2 kind of metal pieces. You can barely see them in the picture, but the instructions want you to put the roof cap on and then partially screw the metal from the inside of the gazebo up, and then you're supposed to put the roof panel and like fit it in there like a jigsaw puzzle. Well, that was a no-go, so we ended up getting it up there and trying to finagle it in there, and then we were like, nope, that was dumb. I recommend don't even put the metal in there, just or very, very loosely put it on so you can move it around and it doesn't get in the way of the peak of the roof trying to come together. So that was definitely one thing that we learned. The roof panels aren't super heavy, like I could lift one up by myself, but they're just awkward, and where we live it was pretty windy, so having the wind catch on the roof panels was slightly scary. But you can see here, like, we used the tractor again to be able to get that last panel up, and then eventually I go over and I help him line it up with the hardware that's on the outside. So he ends up having to go back and unscrew those metal pieces that I was talking about to be able to actually get that piece of that last piece in. But it was actually an easy, I would say it was mostly an easy project to do if you follow all the instructions to a T. You know, don't skip anything. Actually read through everything you're supposed to do. Another thing was really follow the hardware placement and which direction your wood panels are supposed to face. That's also really important. So if you follow the instructions, you shouldn't have any issues, aside from that roof part that I had just mentioned. So, and then we obviously didn't have a porch or anything to put it on, so we made those 4 concrete slabs. We poured them ourselves and leveled them out and everything to be able to put the gazebo on. And then we ended up anchoring the gazebo to those concrete blocks, which, again, it's really windy where we live, so had we not anchored those down, I'm pretty sure we already would have lost the gazebo to the wind. But yeah, eventually we get that last piece in and then screw the rest of the hardware in. So definitely a fun project to do. I do love the gazebo. I think it was a really good design. Because it's obviously pre-made, everything isn't like perfectly cut, and you know, it's not going to be completely perfect and flush on all sides and all that stuff, but a lot of the hardware, not hardware, but a lot of the metal pieces that go on top at the very end cover up all the seals and cover up anything that didn't quite line up. So big thing is make sure that you have your pitch of the roof correct. If you're able to, use 4 people so that whoever stands in the middle can really get that pitch perfect. That's a movie. Anyway, and yeah, hopefully it somewhat helps. The biggest thing was laying everything out, having everything prepared. We did use a drill. It says not to use a drill, but we put it on the lowest setting so that we didn't damage any of the roof paneling, but it would have taken way more time to screw everything by hand like they suggested. So just put our screw gun on the lowest level we could, and then we're really careful screwing stuff in. Some of the stuff we finished by hand, but none of the roof panels. That would have taken forever. And I don't remember if I mentioned it or not, but this whole project with just me and him, total for hours, probably took us 24 to 28 hours. It was really long, not because it was like super difficult, but because it's just tedious, all the parts that you have to put together. But that's our final project, and I'm super happy with it. It's really beautiful. And then we just got, you know, some lights and some